Hi everybody. Sorry, I think I'm a minute late here. I'm gonna give it a couple seconds for everybody to join us. You gotta be good, okay? Yes. Lainey. Guess Lainey's gonna help us out today. She's once again being very needy. So hopefully this goes okay. I decided to do this in my bedroom today because of the lighting. It was just really bright in here, and my dining room is really dark right now, so I figured, why not? We'll try this today. You gotta go lay down so I can do my video. Yeah. Alright, let me adjust this a little bit here. Okay. Alright. So I'm using my ironing board today as a table, so hopefully it doesn't like collapse on me or anything. We're gonna hopefully find out. Okay, here, come on, lay down. No, you're fine. You're fine. All right. So, let's see here. There we go. We got one. It's going to wait for a couple more here to start so I don't lose anybody in what we're doing. Sorry, I'm adjusting this a little bit. It's driving me nuts. Okay, there we go. All right. So, I think I showed you guys like a couple weeks ago these here. They were from the Dollar Tree, just $1 a piece, and then I just painted them and added the labels on. So this is what we're working on today. However, I'm getting just sick of doing videos on just painting and stuff. So I decided to kind of just do them a little bit differently today. We are still going to paint the little one, but the bigger one I just have a different plan for. So these are just the glass jars. This is what they look like before with the lids. And this is my painted one. Voila, not hard, pretty simple, nothing hard to figure out. And then these are stickers that I got a while back at like Michael's or somewhere, and I just used those on the front. But like I said, I'm going to do something a little bit different today with the jars. That way we're not just sitting here painting again. So that's what they look like. Alright, I'm going to set those aside. So today I am using, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but you can Mod Podge like anything. So I found these really pretty napkins at the Dollar Tree a while back, and I couldn't pass them up. I'm like, I'm going to use them for something. They are so pretty. I actually have a couple of them. Let me show you guys. Alright, so they come in packs of like, let's see, 16. So you could do a pretty big project with these, but look how stinking cute. These are from the Dollar Tree. $1 a pack, and I bought like a whole like crap load of them. Like I bought so many that day. They probably thought it was nuts. So I did buy those. This is a while ago. It's not because of the paper product thing going on. I bought these like 2 years ago. So these are the ones I'm going to be using today. I just thought they were beautiful, and I couldn't pass them up. I forgot about them. I had them in my bin for like a couple of years, and then I'm like, oh, today we can use these for something. So I did start on this one just to make sure I wasn't going to make myself look like an idiot in this video, because I haven't Mod Podged anything on this type of surface before with all these little detailed bumps and everything on this glass. So today I just started this one just to show you guys, but we are going to finish the whole rest of this. And then this one here I am going to just paint because it is tiny and it's a little bit more detailed. And as far as putting Mod Podging the napkins on it in this video, I don't want to make you guys sit there and watch me do it twice. So I am going to finish this one. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. There we go. Hopefully my comments are up. I'm not getting like any type of reactions. There we go. Okay, I think I had it off. All right, so if you guys have any questions, you know how this goes, please feel free to comment or anything. That's fine. If at the end of this video, if you still have a question, that's okay. Just comment it and I'll get back to you. I'll read through it and get back to everybody. All right, so I'm going to just set the lid aside for right now. We're not going to do anything with that yet. All right, so with the napkins, they're pretty big. They come, and this is only half of a napkin. They're pretty large, so you can get a lot out of these. And so what I did was cut it in half, and then I kind of lined it up to see where I needed to kind of fit it on there. Because I didn't really want to cut off a lot of the bottom of the planters on this picture or the top of the flowers. So it actually kind of worked out really well with this one. I got kind of lucky, but it kind of fits right in there enough that you're not cutting off much of anything. And then what I did is I just rounded this on to the bottom of it, and then I will put Mod Podge all over it after I'm done, just so we don't catch anything on this edge. You want to kind of make sure it's rounded over. Alright, so my next one, I am doing these in sections because there is a way to do this. You can't just put it on there and just go with it, because it doesn't, the creases and everything don't line up because the container is round, and of course the napkin is not made to fit the round container. So what I was doing was cutting them into the little squares. They're already divided for you pretty much because of the napkin folding. So all we're going to do is cut those again. So I'm just going to do squares here at a time. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because your next napkin should overlap just a tiny, tiny bit. So you're not going to have to line these up exactly. And yes, I'm using little kid scissors because I could not find my good ones this morning. So, well, they're not really kid scissors. I guess they are because they're rounded tip. That's pretty bad. Okay, so that's what I got to work with today. I took my scissors to my mom's last night and I think I forgot them there. I'll clean this up a little bit. And if you're just doing this with like a repetitive design, it's probably easier. Me, I'm not, I mean, it's a repetitive design, but it's a big design. So if you're doing this with something that's like, let me see here, maybe something without like just this, you know, something that maybe you can line up a little bit easier, or it's repetitive, it might be easier to do that. So I shouldn't, that's probably a bad example because those are lines, but you know what I mean. Kind of something that's just the same throughout the whole entire pattern. There's no really lining it up. That might be easier for this, but I just love this napkin, so I wanted to use it. All right, so the next thing, the secret behind, good morning, Bethy. Hi, Maya Malik. The secret behind this, if you're Mod Podging any napkin, I have done this to myself about 3 or 4 times, where I Mod Podge the napkin and I'm like, why isn't it sticking? Like, why is the top layer moving? It's because napkins have 2 layers, all right? Most of them. These decorative ones usually do. So, I know this is a pain, but this is how it's gonna stick. Because if I would just glue this on here right now, say I put some Mod Podge on there and I just slap this on there, the first back layer would stick, but this will not be glued down. The picture will not be glued down. So it's kind of a little secret. If you guys are Mod Podging with napkins, make sure you remove the backing before you start Mod Podging. That is the #1 thing with this. So as you can see, just so you don't think I'm crazy, there is 2 sides, all right? As you can see. So you're just gonna tear off that extra little bit of napkin on the back and just throw that away. And then you're going to use the picture. It's very flimsy. It's almost like tissue paper now. All right, so that's what you're going to use. If, as you can see, this here, once I have this all done, it won't be as see-through, and it's really not that see-through, but if you're doing a project that you don't want any transparency through this, as you can see, you can kind of see my hand moving behind there, right where this planner is. So if you don't want any transparency, this should, after I have this whole jar done, it should cover that so there's no transparency. But if you're working on a project like maybe a window that you don't want to see anything behind it and you're using tissue or tissue paper, you might want to actually, I know this is kind of a pain and you have to double do the step, but you might want to glue this down and then glue this down on top of it after this is dry. So if you don't want any transparency, that's what I would do, because you're not going to see anything behind that then, okay? Or paint it first, all right? That way you're not having any transparency, because you will. If you just use this, you're going to have, see my hand behind it, you're going to have a lot of transparency. So that's up to you, just to keep in mind if you're doing a project where you know you don't want to see through it at all. I would probably either paint maybe the glass first and then put this on, or use the 2 layers. It might help a little bit, okay? All right, so let me see. I just need to look at my other napkin here so I know the pattern. This is in the middle. I'm talking to myself for a second, so just bear with me, okay? Let's see. Alright, so I'm just looking at my order here. Not that it has to be exact, but I kind of forgot which end I cut this off of in the beginning. So I think it was this one. Yes. Okay. So then I'm going to actually do this one next. I think. I just want to make sure the picture is a whole picture. So that's the only reason why I'm being goofy about it. Yep. Okay. So yeah, that's going to line up there. That's the actual like next picture there. Okay. So I am going to do this one next. So let me just peel off the backing of this one. This is the part that takes the longest because it's annoying. Just cut this off. Who would have thought napkins, right? I mean, I heard of people using like tissue paper and stuff, but I've been doing napkins now for a while with things, and I love them because they're cheap, and if you ruin it, it's not like you're spending a lot of money on some expensive like scrapbooking paper. It's just a napkin, and you have tons of them, so if you ruin them, you just pick up another one. Okay, so once again, I'm going to separate those two layers of the napkin so it's just the picture. Alright, so now I am going to start with my Mod Podge. I am just using literally Mod Podge and the matte finish. It depends on whether you want your stuff to look glossy or have that matte finish. I like the matte look. So if you want like the glossy, they have semi-glossy Mod Podge or glossy. So there's a lot of different kind of Mod Podges. I didn't know that till about a year ago. I just thought Mod Podge was Mod Podge, but they actually have some cool different kinds of it. Alright. So I'm not going to coat this whole thing and just slap this on here because there is kind of like a little, especially when you're doing a round thing, there is a little bit more work to it. So I am going to overlap this just a tiny bit with the other one on here. And I hope you guys can see this the best you can, just because I am going to have to kind of turn this towards me so I can get it lined up perfectly. But I am just going to start just a little bit here. Tiny bit. And Mod Podge, you do have some working time with it, so it's pretty easy to work with, I should say. It doesn't dry too fast. I don't think it does. I'm just going to do little section by little section. I am going to go the whole way up here. I did kind of miss this over here, I see. Okay, there we go. Alright, and I'm just going to overlap this just a little bit so there's no chance of this paper lifting. Okay. And then after everything's dry, I will go back and redo a whole coat over top. So I'm going to line this up. I don't want to take too many of my pots off here, but I want to make sure it's nice and lined up. Just going to turn it towards me here for a second. Another thing, if you are using a big picture, I guess it is kind of nice because you can line up a little detail and that way it looks good. But I still think like a repetitive design, little design would be good. Okay. Alright. Alright, so I'm not going to tuck this down yet because I need to cut it first. So you're going to kind of see, oh, got a whole bunch of stuff attached to my scissors. You're going to kind of see where that needs to be cut, right where that bend is. So I'm just going to put a little slit in this paper, okay? And then I'm just going to push down that part there. And yes, it's going to look like creased at the top, which at first I was like, oh, I don't think that's gonna look great, but I kind of like it. I do. So I'm gonna let that like that. All right, and let me smooth this down here. All right, so that little section is glued on there. I'm going to let the bottom for right this second. Amanda, we are making, I did these a while ago, and I think I showed you guys them in the video not too long ago, but these were just painted. They're the glass jars from the Dollar Tree, literally $1 a piece. And all I did was paint these and paint the top of them. This is what they originally looked like, and then that's what I did with them. However, today I decided I wasn't in the mood to just paint something and be done. So I am actually using Mod Podge, and we are Mod Podging a napkin to the face of the whole jar, which is going to look really pretty after we're done. Really pretty. I'm excited about this one. Alright, so we'll get back to this here. We have all this. There's no Mod Podge here. You want to make sure those are going down into that crease. So I am just taking my finger and real lightly, because this is like tissue paper now that I took the backing off. So don't just squeegee or anything. I would not use a squeegee on this. I would just easily take your finger. It's okay if there's air bubbles and stuff. We want it to look kind of old anyway. So you're just going to kind of go over it with your finger. I kind of want to make this look like an old bottle that you found. So, you know, I think it would look kind of cool with air bubbles, not tons of air bubbles, but just a little bit of like just old look to it. So I don't want it on there perfectly, and with all that little detail with the ridges on this jar, I think it's going to pull that out really good. All right. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Yeah, I thought this was really cute. I had these napkins sitting around for like 2 years. They're from the Dollar Tree. Literally, like, they've been sitting here, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. They fit perfectly on here. The little things and planters of flowers, they fit right on there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start cutting, and it doesn't have to be every inch. You don't have to sit here and measure. You can just kind of judge. So like what I was doing when I was practicing this, I was kind of, excuse me, I'm losing my voice again this morning. I was kind of just bending it and seeing where that little bit of crease with the roundness would go. So like right in here. So I am gonna cut this about right here, just so I can flap this piece over and glue it. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm going to just do that the whole way around the bottom. Good. And if you cut too far up to here, it's okay. Don't panic. We'll just glue it down. You'll never even know. So I'm just going to keep going. Like I said, you don't have to like be real particular. It'll lay pretty good then. All right. Now you don't want to make it too short either, so don't be afraid to cut a little bit higher than what you think you may need, just because it'll lay a little bit flatter if you do that. All right, that looks good. And I'm going to do the same thing with the top here, because if I would just press this down and glue it, it's going to be all bumbled up, and you're going to get 5 tons of air bubbles, and you're going to try to squeegee them out, and then you're going to end up ripping all this. So don't even try that. Just keep cutting. And if you cut too many little ones, it's okay. Don't worry. You can always just glue it down. It'll all match up in the end. I am cutting the top ones a little bit littler just because the angle of the jar. So that way they should all lay flat then. And I can't really see what I'm showing you because of all my comments. So hopefully you guys can see this. If you can't, please let me know. But that's how it'll kind of fold over now. It'll lay flat when I glue it and not bumbled. I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right, so now I'm going to work on the part here that I didn't glue down yet. And this is just little patches of glue. You're just going, you know, putting glue down as you go. So don't paint the whole jar and just slap it on there. It's not going to look good, okay? Unless you're going for that type of crazy look, then that's up to you. And if you have like plain, this is another cool thing. I remember when I was a kid, we used to make like placemats, and I'm trying to think what else we made. I'm thinking we made something glass, like maybe candle things or something. My mom used to do a whole bunch of crafts with us, and we would get like just the colorful like blue, red, yellow tissue paper, and we would Mod Podge them on stuff. And it was cool. It made like a cool little design on anything that you were making. So you could even do that with these too. All right. The Dollar Tree has some really cool tissue paper right now too, which I had to like talk myself out of again. Every time I'm there, I'm talking myself out of something because I buy it and then I forget about it, like these napkins. So finally using them after like 2 years. All right, so just a little section of glue here, and you're gonna coat the whole way from the top to just here. We're not gonna do the bottom yet. And make sure you're picking up where you left off. So get underneath here where you kind of need to backtrack a little bit. Don't be afraid. You're not, the Mod Podge dries clear. So if you get it on the top of this paper right now, it's okay. All right. So I'm going to just paint that little section right in there. Make sure it's coated really well. Okay. And I'm just going to lay this down so I can see here real quick. And just do that. And I'm just getting my fingers and I'm just running it over that. There we go. And I'm trying to keep the top of this as straight as I can, just because there is a picture on here and I want to try to keep that picture. Alright, there we go. Sorry, I know guys you can't see right now, just give me 1 second. Just want to make sure this is laid down on here, this little piece. Alright, so what I was doing up here, it's okay if it overlaps itself. It's going to, because the paper's wider and the drawer's thinner up here. So that's okay. You're just going to smooth it out with your finger again. Good. I'm getting a little crease here that I don't like, so I'm just going to pull this off and do it again here for a second. Oh, this was going so smoothly for me, like before the video. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to add a little bit of more Mod Podge right here. And just flatten that. Okay, that looks better. Alright, so I got rid of that little air pocket there that I had. And I'm just going to keep going. I think maybe what I did is I cut too far on this one. That's why it didn't lay down as flat. Okay, there we go. Good. Alright. Awesome. I think this might be a little crooked too, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do my next little section of Mod Podge here, and then we'll come back and we'll just fold that bottom under. Alright, so I'm just going to keep going with this. Maybe you guys can see this one now a little bit better here. Just going to pull it a tiny bit and press it with my finger real lightly. Just using my finger kind of as a squeegee, really lightly though, so you don't rip it. And then just folding that top. What I am doing here, maybe I can show you with this. Let me see if I can get up closer here. I am just kind of overlapping the top. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit with the last piece, and then it lays flat. And it's okay with that because I think that kind of looks pretty anyway. After that's all done, it'll kind of give it like a bunched at the top look. It's really pretty. Okay. So there's that. I'm just going to keep smoothing it real quick. And then now I am going to do my bottom, okay? These little flaps of paper need glued down that way. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Mod Podge here. Remember to kind of connect it to your last one here. That way it doesn't peel up. Definitely just dropped my Mod Podge lid on the floor. Alright. And try to get around the inside of this edge too. Oops. Pushed one of my pieces down too early. Okay, there we go. Just so that way, piece really wants to go down. Okay, so that way you're not having any little air problems in there, like little air bubbles and stuff. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to, one at a time, push these over. Just how they want to lay. I'm not forcing them, because if you force them, that's when it's gonna kind of look crappy. Just letting them lay where they want to. This is the same way I did the top. I wasn't forcing them to go anywhere unless they were really off. Okay, there we go. That's that. And don't worry, we'll go back after this and I will Mod Podge all of this over again just to make sure those edges don't come up. You can see this little edge here must not have had glue on it. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's it so far. This is my favorite part so far. I think it's really pretty. And there's the next one. Okay, so now we are going to do the third square. And I did, when I wrapped this napkin around at the beginning, I noticed it didn't cover this whole jar. that's fine. I'll teach you guys. We'll just add like a little sliver of another one just to fit in there and match everything. So this is the one I already took the backing off of earlier before I did that one. So once again, if you're using a tissue, before you Mod Podge it, make sure you remove the backing, because if you don't, this is not going to stick. The backing's going to stick, and then this is going to peel off later. It might not at that second, because it might be like kind of moist, but it will later pull off, okay? So this one, let me see here. I'm going to add it to here, maybe. All right. I don't think there was any really rhyme or reason to this, maybe? Maybe there was. Let me see. All right, so I'm not going to use this one because I think I cut too much off of it. I'm going to use this middle one because as you can see, this is what we just glued on there, and it kind of connects right in here. So I am going to cut this one a little bit further, if you can see my finger going down here, to keep some of this to add to where my picture ended there. So you could technically, if you really sat here and like really cut it evenly, you could do it out of one napkin, but I have them, so I'm just going to use them. Get my little kitty scissors, cut this out. All right, there's that. And I just cut this way a little bit because of course the napkin was too long. So kind of, actually, let me see where I cut that. I'm trying to remember. It was right at the edge. Okay, so it was right at the edge of this little countertop on this picture. And just find, if you are doing the same thing I am, it's easy just to find a point on there and just go with that point. So like I did, I know where to cut this at that little countertop in the picture there and straight across. So that way it's even underneath of this. It'll be even, how that matches up. All right, and at the top here, I did it right above the flowers. A little extra maybe. So is anybody up to anything exciting? You guys working on anything? All right, and put this on the side here. Hi, Elizabeth. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. I got these from the Dollar Tree. It's been like about 2 years, so they probably don't have them anymore. But I kept them in my little stockpile. I knew that they were going to be used for something awesome, and this is the something awesome. So definitely, you know, if you can find cool napkins, they can make some really cool, beautiful things. And this is what our jar looks like so far. Very pretty. All right. So I am going to pick up where I left off here. Right there is where we stopped. And just soften up this edge a little bit right on the crease here. You guys know me, I focus too much when I'm cutting, so, you know, it's like a moment of silence when I'm using the scissors. Okay. Alright, so what I was doing here was just cleaning up the edge of this real quick. Alright, so now that should line up with this a lot better. I got the rest of that little purple flower on there. And remember, oops, let me cut this off because I'm doing one square at a time here. Try not to have to recut and clean up, because then that's when you run into your image is not matching up. So that one looks pretty good. Okay, so again, if you are using a napkin, most important thing with Mod Podge and a napkin, remove that backing off of that napkin or it's not going to stick. You're not going to get the picture to stick. You'll get the backing to stick but not the picture. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. Like I said, your most important first step here is remove the backing, and then you're going to line it up. So I'm just making sure everything looks good before I put the glue down on here. making sure that it's going to line up okay, make sure there's nothing that I need to trim. It looks pretty good. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put my little bit of Mod Podge down. I should pick up the lid so I don't get any Mod Podge on my floor. Okay. And you don't need to like drench it in Mod Podge, okay? So just a light coat of Mod Podge is alright. And I'm just going to start on top of the last paper that I put down because you want to glue those edges together. Alright, I'm just going to start with a tiny bit, not a big piece here, just because I want to make sure I can line it up and everything, and then we got to start cutting the top and the bottom of it so it'll lay flat. Alright, so give me 1 second, let me just line this up and then I'll turn it towards you guys. I'm kind of right here on the crease, so this is going to be a little challenging. Let's see, I think I'm right there maybe. I'm really struggling with this one. Alright, I think maybe I got it right. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Make sure it's, yep, it's about where I was with the other one too. Alright, so I'm just going to get my finger and just follow those creases down. I'm putting the front on first, making sure the front is nice and smooth. Good. And then this is where I'm going to start cutting. So I'm going to cut my first one just right where that crease is, so it'll lay nice and flat. Okay, I'm going to get my finger, this one I might have just left the napkin a little bit too long, and I'll go back and clean that up later. I'm not worried about that right this second. But it lines up pretty nicely there. Okay, and looks good. Alright, so I used my Mod Podge on that one, and right now I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting the little strips right here and cutting the little strips on the bottom as well. Just so it'll lay flat after the surface is glued on. This isn't a hard thing to do, it's pretty easy once you get going. I would maybe test this on something before you start on a good project, just to make sure you know how to work with it. Because like I said, Mod Podge, you have a little bit of working time, but not a lot. Okay. Because that's all dry right now. Where I just put that on, that's dry. Alright, so I'm going to flip this over where I left off here. Alright. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and start my next little patch of Mod Podge. I love saying that, Mod Podge. It's a neat little word. I'm just going to glue that down. I'm not gluing the bottom yet. I'm just gluing from the top down. And you can do these in a little bit bigger of a patch if you want to, or if you're just not quite sure, you can just take your time. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to fold this over, keeping it nice and straight. I should have had something to hold this because I'm struggling. It's rolling away from me. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of press it this way, lay it real flat, and I'm going to get my fingers just to press it down into those little creases of the jar. Okay, looks good. And then here, I'm just going to press and lay those down. It's hard to do. The top's the harder part. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty, can be pretty tough. All right, there we go. Because you gotta kind of let them lay where they want, but you gotta also make sure it's covering everything. Okay. Good. All right, so now I'm going to do my last little part there. It's looking good still with that. Looks awesome. And I'm just going to go ahead and do my last little patch. I should be able to get the rest of this napkin laid onto there with this last little bit of Mod Podge. And like I said, you don't need a ton of it, so you can spread it out. You do want to make sure it's all over though. That way, you know, you're not having any spots where it's not sticking, if that makes sense. Okay. think I put enough on there. We're gonna find out. Okay, so just going to grab that like I did the last couple, pull it, make sure it's even, get my finger, kind of just glide over it, make sure it's laying flat, and then I'm gonna go over those little creases with my finger again. Good. Okay. And then I'm gonna go back over to the top here and just lay those down. I do need to trim some off of here, which I'll use an X-Acto knife. Hopefully if I can find my X-Acto knife. Maybe to do that later after this is dry. Or scissors. It might be big enough to use scissors. Alright. Good. And like I said, the top's going to overlap itself a tiny bit. That's okay. It actually gives it some detail. It looks pretty like that. Alright, just going to press all those down. If you find any pieces, we'll come back and kind of just add a little bit of Mod Podge and glue them back down. So it's okay if you see a little flap that's sticking up. Oops, I ripped it. Alright, so you can see how easily I ripped that. I barely touched it. So I am just going to kind of get my finger, hopefully, and fix it. I'm going to find out real lightly. Just bring that back down. Okay. And I'm not going to touch that. So I did fix it. You will never be able to even see it. But if you would rip something like I just did, it's okay. Just get your finger kind of like you would with your nail polish if you ever messed up nail polish, ladies. Just get your finger and just kind of dab it and move it back into place where it needs to be, and then don't touch it. It'll dry okay. Alright, so now I got all that on there. I want to glue the bottom down. Alright, so set this upside down. Oh, there we go. I don't know why I didn't do that last time. Alright, I'm going to get a little bit of glue. Remember, you're overlapping your paper, so you want the glue a little bit on that last edge that you did. That's already glued down. Okay. And it's okay. As you can see, it dries clear. And I did kind of go overboard on the last one, but you can barely even see it. Especially when it's on the bottom. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So now, as you guys can kind of see, I'm just going to, they're kind of going to lay themselves down there. Just going to glide it. I'm not going to create any air bubbles or anything. I'm just kind of letting them go where they want to. Just using my finger to guide it down there. Okay. Looks good. So this is pretty much the secret behind Mod Podging a round item. Pretty easy. Not too bad. A little extra Mod Podge there. Should have took off that sticker, but that's okay. I might just paint this bottom of it or something. Okay, so lined up pretty good. Couldn't talk. Lined it up. Like that's like a sentence. It's not even a sentence. Alright, so that looks good. And as you can see, we have this tiny little strip of missing paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the last piece. Oops, I'm touching my paper at the bottom here. There we go. I'm going to find the last flower. So right here is my last little picture. I want to match this. I don't really want to match just the wall. So I want to match this flower. Okay? Hopefully, if I can find a match. I don't know. That should be good. Let's see. These napkins might have ended that way. So let me check. Let me see, that one. Alright. It's there. Alright, so I did find it. Let me see if I could use this one maybe. No, I can't. Okay, so I'm going to cut another side from this. Yeah. Alright, so what I'm going to use, because this one here ended right in here, I'm just going to use this right here. So it'll act like it's just another part of that picture. Actually might have a napkin that I already cut from. I have like 4 or 5 napkins out. Whoopsie. That one's not going to work. Yes, I'm talking to myself. Just bear with me for a second. I'm trying to figure out what I can match this with. I thought I had another one out, but maybe I don't. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to cut that piece where I need it here, which is right here. And I'm just going to start with cutting this in half, get rid of half of it real quick. All right. And then the bottom. Being kind of careful, trying to cut it real evenly where I need it, so I don't have to go back and trim anything off of it. The nice thing about this is you can kind of save this other pieces for another day. Might work on another project. Alright, so now I kind of see where I need to cut it exactly. I am going to overlap this just a little bit. Trying to think here. Alright, so to get the door to blend, I kind of am at a hard spot here. Alright, so to get the door to either blend or the flower to blend, I'm going to stick maybe two pieces together. Let me see here. Because I don't want to leave it. I could actually just do that. Should have a door there. Okay. So let me think. I'm thinking out loud to myself. Alright, so I'm going to actually do two different pieces here, I think, to get it to line up better. That is not that door, this is that door. I'm talking to myself, sorry. Okay, alright, so we're just going to go with this. Alright, so I'm going to overlap that just a tiny, tiny bit, seeing where I need to pick up on this. It's about right in here, and of course it's at that crease. That's a pain in the butt, right? Okay. And I'm going to cut the top off of this before I start gluing. About right in here. And you can even out the tops and everything after you're all done. That's okay to do. Oh, I didn't need that piece. I need this one. Duh! Okay. So that should line up pretty well. So I'm going off of this last flower here. I'm going to overlap it just a tiny bit. And then cut it right in there. Good. Okay. So somewhere this picture is not going to match up just because it's just how it is. So I'm going to just finish cutting this. Unless I'm going to be like really picky, but I don't want to sit here for 5 hours just being really picky on this video. You guys understand what I'm trying to do here. Alright. Good. And I'm just going to kind of see where I need to cut this. Good. In there. Okay. That needs glued down. I see it's coming up a little bit. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this right at that little flower there. Just need this little sliver so it matches up. Okay, so take that backing off. Remember, that's the most important thing there. And we're going to glue that little sliver on there to finish up this little part of this picture. Lainey's snoring. I don't know if you guys can hear her or not, but she's definitely snoring. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my Mod Podge, and I'm just doing that tiny little strip to finish this, and then we'll match up that wall. I am going to do it that way because it's going to drive me nuts if not. So, sorry, it's going to take a little bit longer. Alright. There we go. And I'm just going to line that up with that right where I left off. It's okay. I put a little bit too much Mod Podge on there, but I'm just going to wipe it off with my finger. There we go. And then I don't need to cut this at the top or bottom because it's such a tiny strip that it's just going to blend right in there. Okay, so there we go. We finished that little flower. And now I'm going to finish this wall because this is all plain. So that should be hopefully kind of easy for me to finish that one. Let's find a picture of that. Like I said, if you would do a major repetitive design, it wouldn't be this involved. I swear this looks bigger than some of the other ones do. Okay. There we go. That one. I need that. Okay, so I need this. Alright. This is going to be hard to do. It really is. Which I might just use an extra. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm just going to use this extra little pot here. I'm just going to add to the picture. I'm just going to cut this pot out and I'm going to add it. So then it'll kind of line up and look like it's just supposed to be there. I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do with this, to be honest. Which I already have one. It's my one I cut earlier. Alright, so let me just do that. What? Okay. Hopefully this works. Hopefully it doesn't turn out crappy. I just don't want to end it overlapping and not matching because then it'll bother me and, you know. Alright. Looks pretty good. And then that way the door will kind of end right at that flower. Alright, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down real quick. And I think it'll look pretty good then. Alright, so make sure you're getting your little extra sides, especially on this one, because this one's going to kind of hold it together here. Finalize it. Add a little bit more if you need to. Actually do that. Okay. And I'm going to add this. Alright, looks good. It's lining up, and I'm going to actually need to cut this one a little bit at the top there just so it lays flat. It's easier to cut when it's dry. I must have got Mod Podge on it. Okay. And this one once at the bottom just because it is too big of a piece to lay flat. Okay. There we go. Looks good. And I'm just cleaning that up there. And I'm going to add a little bit more Mod Podge underneath this. This is probably the hardest part, is making sure this last little piece is on here. As you guys can tell, I'm struggling with it. And it's just because of my design on this napkin that I'm struggling with, because the one napkin didn't cover the whole thing. So, just how it works out sometimes. Alright, just going to flip that over and add a little bit more Mod Podge. Oops. Could have picked a littler brush, I guess. I didn't need to use this big thing. Okay, and I'm just going to lay that flat and make sure those edges are all glued down there. Looks good. Alright, and then the bottom here, make sure that's glued down. And right in here. Alright, so that's pretty good. I'm just going to clean up that extra little bit of glue. And like I said, if you see any edges sticking up, we will get that after this is dry. But there it is, kind of blended. Even though that's kind of repetitive there, it kind of made it look like one big pot there. So the front of it looks great. That's really what matters. It's really pretty. I love that side of it right there. I think that's so pretty. So, alright. So there we go. That's how you do the round with the Mod Podge. And you still get that ripple effect with that jar. And I love that. I think it's so pretty. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and then we'll go back and do the coat on that. Good morning, Lori. Oh my goodness, it's snowing there. It's actually nice here in Johnstown today. Really, really nice. I was thinking about maybe doing the video outside, but it's just a little bit chilly and windy. So I decided to do it in my bedroom where, I know it's weird, but there's a whole bunch of light in here. This is the first room in the morning that the light hits, the sun hits. So I'm like, I'm doing it in the bedroom. I don't even care. Made me clean my bedroom though. You know, my bed actually is made for the first time in like ever. So made me do that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I want this to match this. Still, I kind of want to use it as a set, but I'm not gonna sit here and just glue all that stuff on there again after I just showed you guys how to do it. I'm not gonna sit here and do another one just because it'll be like forever. So I'm gonna just paint this one, and that way it matches this. So I'm trying to think if I even have a cream. I used to have a cream, so hopefully I still have one. See a little spot on here that I just need a little bit of Mod Podge just driving me nuts. Okay. There we go. All right. So let me grab my paint. Let me see what I got in my paint bag. I have a class tonight, so like I just packed everything up for the class, and now I realized that I needed paint, so I just dug this whole big bag in here with me. Let's see. This might actually match pretty well. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to use this. Yeah, I think that'll still look good. Okay. So I'm just going to use this. This is, of course, Art Minds, like usual, like I love using. And it's called Dune. So that's an interesting name, right? But I never used this color before. It was one of the ones on sale when I got like a whole bunch of them. So I'm excited to kind of use it. All right. Look at that. Nice and new. All right. Whew. That's kind of sloppy there. All right. And I'm going to actually use... Let me see here. One of my awesome chip brushes. Okay. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do next is go ahead and paint this one. So if you guys want to stick with me and watch this, and then we'll get back to the Mod Podging on the rest of that. Just going to use what's on the little cover here. Alright, so these might need 2 coats. That is actually a really pretty color. It's pretty. Alright, so light paintbrush strokes. I know I went over this with you guys before about painting glass. If you watched any of my previous videos, you know, just light brush strokes. You don't want to, you know, mess it up as far as taking the paint off after you just put it on. So that looks good. Alright. Make sure you're getting all those different edges and angles because there is a lot on here. Good. Good. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and get just the top of this. Just going to go the opposite way here and matching it up. Looks pretty good. This actually might look okay with 1 coat, but you're going to see the brush strokes in it, so if you like that look, that's fine, but I might actually do 2. Alright, that looks pretty good. Take it the whole way up to where the lid would set. Okay, looks good there. And then I'm going to do where the lid was, right here. Just up to it. I'm not going to do the top of it because if it gets warm, there's a possibility that it'll peel that paint off. So I'm not going to do where the lid should suction. I'm just going to do right around the edges here. so quiet in my house today. It's weird. You can hear the birds outside. Alright, so that's pretty good. Looks good. Make sure the bottom's covered really well. So you don't see any just plain glass there. Just going to kind of extend that onto the bottom. I always forget to take the tags off of things until I start painting them. Anybody else have a habit like that? That's like my bad habit. Okay. Get the rest of that off later. Looks good. Okay, so that's all painted now. It looks really pretty, and it's going to match that really well. All right. So now I don't want to set it on the bottom because I just kind of overlapped my paint there. I'm going to set it on the surface that I did not paint. All right. So now that that's dry, my Mod Podge, or no, that's drying, my Mod Podge should be dry. Mod Podge dries pretty quickly. Alright, so now I'm going to go around, and I do have my X-Acto knife, but I think it'll just rip it. So I am just going to go down and kind of bend over all the pieces here. Oh, it's like actually glued there. There we go. And this is kind of where you have to be picky, I guess. I don't know. It'll bother me, so I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to trim off the extra little pieces. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because I do have a plan for the top of this edge also. Alright, that actually looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to get my Mod Podge now, and I'm going to do a coat over top of this. Just to get all these little edges down. It's pretty dry. It looks good. I'm taking my hand and making sure that there's nothing like really that's going to grab anything. It looks like I glued that down pretty good, so I think we should be okay. Alright, so back to the Mod Podge. And this doesn't have to be a really thick layer. It's all dry. So I am just going to start with the top because that's the most important. And I'm just going to kind of make sure that that's dabbed. And I do use my finger a lot with Mod Podge just because it's easier. Good. Messy, but easier, if that makes any sense. Right there's my overlap pieces that I did, so that's kind of a hard area. Alright. Good. Alright, this is just sealing all of that, making sure that there's no open space. You want to kind of go with your little creases here. They were all going the same way except for that area that I kind of overlapped everything. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, I know. I'm not a bright colored person. I like my neutral colors, like my whites, my blacks, and the browns. The earth tones, I guess, is what you would call them. But I love that kind of stuff. I'm just going to actually keep using my fingers here. As you can tell, my bedroom's gray and tans and everything else. So it's how my whole house is decorated. Okay. There we go. That looks good, and this piece here just needs fixed. Okay. Alright, so that's all Mod Podge down there. I'm going to give it a second to dry. It is white right now, but it will dry clear, so don't worry about that. And I am going to go over. I don't feel the need to coat this whole thing right now. I think it's pretty good. I'm not catching any edges. I think I did it pretty good, so I'm not going to recoat it, but I am going to touch up the bottom here. Just making sure those are all down. You can see pieces that aren't sticking 100%. That's good that we're doing this now. Okay. Good. Oops. There we go. All right. Looks good. Okay. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit here. I'm going to go back to my other one. I think it might be wet still. It is. Okay, so let me grab my hairdryer. I still did not get to replace Mr. Hairdryer, so I'm still using my good hairdryer, but you know. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and dry this real quick. I'm going to hold it from the inside here. There we go. And dry it. guys, I just blew all of my napkins that were laying there, just went flying across the room. Alright, I'll have to get this later. But, okay, that's up to you guys. You know, if you like the kind of see-through look, that's fine. But there are places, as you can see right on there, that are pretty see-through. So I am going to do another coat on here. I kind of left these see-through-ish just because I thought it added to it. I kind of liked the blue with that. So, and I think it just gave it more of a texture. But I am going to actually do a second coat on this one. I'm making a disaster, like always. What's new, right? Alright, so I'm just going to do my second coat on this real quick. Just going back and definitely touching up stuff that I could see through. Alright. Keep using the stuff off my lid that's like half dry. Don't want to do that. I was working on, this is kind of like, thank goodness I had like an idea for this, this video today. It's kind of last minute thing, like my last couple have been, other than the scale. The scale, that was pretty planned out, but with this class tonight, I've been rushing to get everything done for it. I had to get everything, I had to go back to Lowe's a couple of times yesterday to pick up everything. I'm probably in Lowe's more than I am in Walmart and everywhere else, which is very sad. I buy crafting stuff before I buy groceries, so, you know, that's always a smart one, right? I mean, really, who's stocking up on crafting stuff right now? Me, definitely me. Alright, let's see here. The painted one. No, I'm not going to use Mod Podge, Elizabeth, over the painted one. You can use wax. I would not use Mod Podge over chalk paint unless you're gluing an image on. So really, Mod Podge, it seals also, but usually when you're using the chalk paint, I would just use a wax if it's a surface like a table or anything like that that you're using. I did like the, I don't know if you saw the video, the little like portable, I'm trying to think, like trays for like your coffee table and stuff. I did like the handles on the sides. Now that surface was going to be used as far as like putting cups and food on. So I did use a wax to seal that. But little things like this, unless you really, really want to, you can put wax on it. I don't usually do it just because its surface is not going to be used a lot. It's more for decoration. So like if I was doing a table or a cabinet or something, I would do an actual wax over it just to seal it and protect it from anything that like scratches or anything like that. But on things like this, my little projects, I don't really use it. So, but yeah, you know, no reason to really seal this. It's not like it's a used surface. So that's that one. I see a couple places that I did miss on here. So hopefully I answered your question on that one. And I'm sure you could use Mod Podge to seal like acrylic paint and stuff. I don't know about chalk. I never really tried it. Unless I'm like actually doing a image or something on it. Alright. Okay, looks good. Alrighty, so that one is good. I'm going to set that over here to dry completely. Alright, so back to my little container here. I think it should be good enough. Alright, so the lid. Now this is my debate. I kind of wanted to keep it clear, but I don't know now. I might want to paint it. Let me see. Because I am going to use some detail. I had these beads laying around. I got them at a garage sale like forever ago. So I am going to add these to the very top of this. Maybe this will work with me. It's all like knotted together. Just pretend like this isn't sitting here. But I was going to use this on the top of here just to give it a little bit of detail. Thought that would look really cute and hide those edges. So that'll help that. So I think I might paint this lid, maybe the color to match the little jar, just to throw that in there. So I am going to do that and let that dry a little bit longer. It's still a tiny bit tacky. Okay. All right. So painting the lid's the same thing as painting that last jar. I'm gonna do 2 coats on it. Yeah, no problem, Elizabeth. Absolutely. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball where I need to line that up there with the plastic. I don't mask anything. I'm a terrible masker. It takes too long, and I'm one of those people, I get too excited to jump right into a project that I don't want to spend time masking off things. No way. Then I'm bored by the time I'm masked off. I'm like, do I really want to do this? So I just kind of eyeball things. Okay. Good. Yeah, but you can't beat $1. I mean, this project cost me $3, not even. I stuck my finger in paint. $3 just for the pack of napkins, which can be used on other things because there's like 16 napkins in a pack. So I used maybe like 3 to do this project just because I just kind of pulled another one when I needed it. So, I mean, I could have probably just got away with using 2 of them. So really, you're spending less than $3 on this project, which is really cool. All right. Looks pretty good there with that side. And then I'm just going to take this the whole way up. All right. Okay. Good. Okay, so there we go. That's painted. Looks awesome. It matches the little one here, and I think that'll look really pretty on there. Looks awesome. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then we'll probably have to do a second coat on that as well. And for this one, I'm trying to decide what I want to do with this lid. I might actually just keep this one clear maybe, or I don't know if I have like a pink. I don't think I have a pink, because that would have been a cute thing to do. Let me see. I might have something. Or maybe not. But maybe I would. I'm trying to think if I have a pink anywhere else. I have a purple. That's brown. Alright, let me go grab my purple real quick. I'm going to see if maybe I can use some purple in the lid. Be right back. Alright, so this is a pretty bright purple, so let me see if, yeah, Elizabeth, you could definitely do that. Absolutely. That would look really cute too. I'm going to stick, I might actually try that maybe on something else, but I am going to stick just because I originally honestly thought about doing the farmer's twine around this piece here, but then I was like, oh, this is like real kind of vintagey, so I wanted to keep with the beads. So I figured, oh, why not? We'll just do the beads with this. But that's a good idea. Yeah, absolutely, is the farmer's twine and jute around the top of that. That would look really, really pretty. All right, I'm just gonna take this off. Oh, maybe I got stuck on there now. Okay, so I'm gonna try maybe, because this does have a lot of purples and pinks, and I kind of want to pull those out in the lid on the small little jar. So I'm going to mix some purple and some of this cream and see where it gets me. Maybe. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just maybe try the farmer's twine. Ooh. Throwing things. I need a bigger surface. I'm using my iron board right now. If you guys didn't hear me earlier, I'm actually using my ironing board for this project because I didn't really have a table in my bedroom. Of course, this is going to be stubborn. This is like really purple, so we'll see. Okay. All right, so before, no, I guess I have 2 brushes, so this should work. All right, let's see. I'm just gonna take, this is like the cover of my whatever paint that I used last, the other color. So I am gonna just take a little bit of this purple, and I'm just gonna mix it on here because I didn't plan to actually do this, so I didn't have a paper plate or anything. I'm just gonna mix this. You use what you have, right? I'm very good for that. I'm like, I save like right here on this paper is literally the stuff that comes in the Chewy boxes. If you have an animal and you get Chewy, this is the paper that comes in there. I save it because then I paint on it. Okay, so that's looking lighter. I wanted it more pink, but I don't have anything else more pink. I just have blues. I have a lot of blues. I don't even really like blue. I don't know why I have a lot of blue paint, but apparently, I don't know. That's what I went for at some point in time. Okay. So this is a very light purple. All right. It's kind of creamish purple. It looks pretty. Maybe a little bit more here. Wondering. Okay, so I think maybe that color will work. It doesn't match this exactly. It looks a little bit more purplish, so we'll go ahead and go with that. I like it. If I don't, after I do it, we can always repaint it later. All right, so the little lid right in front of my face, and I'm looking for it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's really not that different, so let me add. It's looking kind of the same. Alright. I really want pink right now, but I'm not gonna get it. Alright. That's a little bit purpler, maybe. Don't mind me being messy. This is how my normal day is here. Okay, I'm not going to mix this fully because I'm getting like deep dark purple there a little bit, so I'm just going to go with it. Alright, that looks better. Okay, so it's not matching that perfectly, which is good. Got a little too much cream in there. Alright, and then once again I'm just going to kind of line that up with my eye. I'm not going to mask it off where that plastic and the glass meet because I'm too lazy to do that. Okay. There we go. Steady hand helps, right? Okay. So I'm just going to make sure that that's evenly coated, and it's going to take 2 coats, so there we go. Alright, so I think that color is going to fit in pretty well with that. There's a lot of purples on this side here, so I think it might fit. I think it'll look pretty. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry, and that's definitely not dry yet. So I'm going to use my awesome hair dryer, and let me put some lids on this stuff before I seriously start spilling everything. Or I'm waiting for me to like bump the little handle thing on this ironing board and it just go wham straight down to the floor with all my paint on. I'm waiting for it. That might happen. I am very like, I'm terrible with dropping things. Okay. There we go. There's my Mod Podge. That's closed. Put this back. Second coat of that. Okay. Alright, so let me use my hair dryer real quick. I'm going to go ahead and dry the lid of the big jar real quick so I can do a second coat. Maybe. Okay, there we go. that is pretty dry there. So I'm going to go ahead and get my new clean brush because I definitely mixed too much purple on the other one. And I'm going to go ahead and just do my second coat on this. I don't know, Mod Podging this might have been faster than you doing coats of paint. I didn't really think about that. Probably about the same amount of time. But I guess we would still have to paint the lids, so it'll equal out in the end. All right. Okay, almost done with my second coat here. Looks pretty good. It's making sure all my brush strokes aren't too bad here, because this is my last coat. There we go. All right, looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna let that set and dry, but I think it's gonna look really pretty on there. I think we might have nailed it this time, hopefully, right? Okay, there we go. All right, so back to my main jar here. I am gonna add some beads. I'm gonna cut this mess here. Trying to figure out where I wanna cut it at. Okay, so with the beads, you don't even need to glue these on. If you're working with these, if you just twist them, they'll stay, which is really cool. So I am gonna kind of, you could probably make a bow or something out of this if you really wanted to be fancy. But I'm just gonna kind of find this spot that I want to be my front of my jar, which is right in here. And I want this off to the side a little bit, so I'm gonna twist it. There we go. And I think that looks really, really cute. I'm gonna make these a little bit shorter though. Okay. So I think that looks pretty cute. And once we have the lid on, it'll kind of finish it. Or you could put flowers or something in here too. If you don't want to use it as a canister, you could always put something inside of it also. But yeah, it turned out pretty cute actually. Not too bad. Trying to see if I could do like a bow or something here. I never did a bow with beads, so I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's gonna work. I think I cut these too short. Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap that and leave that like that. Okay, so it looks pretty stinking cute. And then this here, I am gonna do the top edge of this because I realized that the lid doesn't touch it. I thought it did, but it doesn't, so I'm just gonna go over that real quick. And then I will hair dry everything, make sure everything's dry, maybe do a second coat on the purple. It's looking pretty good though. I might not actually need it. It might have been dark enough to cover all that glass. Okay. Looks pretty good. Bring up my hair dryer. purple one's taking a really long time to dry. I actually checked to make sure it wasn't acrylic. But it's not, it's chalk. It's weird. Thought maybe I picked up like a purple acrylic and didn't realize it. Okay, let me put this lid on here. This actually is fighting me. That's crazy. Okay, so I have a little spot here that I kind of bumped when it wasn't dry because I'm very impatient, of course, right? Just gonna touch it up a little bit. There we go. That looks good. Okay, so finally, there's the lid. I couldn't wait to put that lid on there to see how it looks, but it looks pretty darn good. It looks cute. I really want to do something with this. I'm just not sure what. I don't know. I wanted a bow or something. Maybe I'll add something to it later. Maybe like a flower or something would look really cute. So we'll see. And then this here, I am going to do a second coat because it is kind of see-through right in there. Awesome. I'm glad you guys like it. It's awesome. I'm going to do a second coat on this one real quick and we'll let this dry. And then that should be good. I'll add some little bit of beads to this one as well. And then the project should be complete. Woohoo! Alright. I feel like this was a really long video today. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. Okay. There we go. Oops. Yeah, this stuff still isn't 100% dry. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay. I definitely didn't let that dry long enough. Whoopsie. That was my fault. Okay. Alright. Touch this up with the hair dryer again. Hopefully it'll dry. I don't know why it's not too much right now. Dry on its own for a little bit. Maybe I'm just putting too much heat on it. Okay, so I am going to add a couple little beads around this one too, just so it matches. Don't mind my big thing of rat's nuts of beads here. Alright. Alright, I'm just going to clip those together. Alright. And then there's that as well. That looks pretty cute. I really wish this lid would dry because I just want to put it on there and be done with the project. Alright, well you guys get the idea there. That looks really cute. Alright, it kind of matches, they match each other. Even with this lid being the same color as this jar, I think that maybe would have looked better. I'm kind of maybe regretting the purple now. I don't know. I'm not a bright person, so it's hard to say. But that's pretty much what they look like together. And I'm glad you guys joined me today for that, just Mod Podging. I am, if you are in the Johnstown area, I'm having class tonight, of course. I do have a couple open spots, so if you're from Johnstown, you're watching this and you're bored and you want to come up and join me, you can. Just message me so I can get you the details. I'm also doing, I've had stuff in a store up in Westmont in Johnstown here for a while now. I'm refreshing my stuff up there on her shelves tonight. So I am going to have a couple new things. I've had so much interest in the coffee filter flowers that I actually am going to be selling bags of them in 3 now. So that's what that is. That'll be there. It is Studio U. Well, the Right Cup Studio U is where these will be available. Alright, you're not just supporting me, you're also supporting a local business. So if you guys want to kind of shop there, that's awesome if you're from Johnstown. I will also have these here. This is Johnstown little, just the vinyls that I printed out. I got white ones. I got the glittery, it's hard to see the glitter on there, but the glittery black. And then I just have the plain black as well. So those will be available up there also, okay, and they come with instructions and everything on how to place the vinyl on anything. So if you're from Johnstown and want to support that, those will be up at Studio U there in Westmont. And I'm also making, because I made a couple sets of these, I'm also selling these too because I don't need a whole bunch of them here, of course. So these are just the date dice, of course, and they come in a little bag there. So you can also find those up at Studio U too. So all three of these things, with along with a whole bunch of other stuff that I finished, is actually going to be available for purchase up there now. So, you know, if you're from Johnstown or around the area and you want to purchase anything of mine, you can either message me, we can figure out something about shipping, or you could visit just Studio U up in Westmont. Like I said, you're not just supporting me, you're actually supporting a local business as well too. So that's kind of what's up and coming for me. Next week's projects I'll be posting, hopefully letting you guys know what's going on, what the videos will be on next week. So that's going to be awesome to look forward to that. I'm thinking I'm going to actually refinish. I have like a little, it's almost like an end table type thing that I kind of want to do on one of my live videos. So it's a bigger project, and it'll be kind of one of those things that I might have it halfway done by the time I go live with, but at least you guys can join me for that. So that's going to be a project I'm going to be working on. And I also have, of course, the other dresser in the bedroom set. I just got that delivered here week or two ago, I think, that I'm going to be actually doing that as well. So I do have a lot of projects, bigger projects, so the next couple videos might be just of me going live as far as painting and what I'm working on. So if you guys have any questions on this video, please leave comments, you know. Thank you guys so much for your support and for viewing. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have no clue. When I started these, I thought maybe I would have like 10 friends and some family members viewing them, and they're up to about 6,000 views. So thank you guys so much. Any questions or any project, if you guys see something on Pinterest that you want me to make live here, I'll figure out how to make it and I'll go live with it. So just send me that, and you know, anything else that you're interested in or any questions. All right, if you're doing a flip at home and you have a question, please just shoot me a message. I will be more than happy to help you out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good day.